Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. Of course, we're talking about Sandy Kreisberg, the founder of HBSguru.com. There he is in Boston.
Hello, folks.
And not
Welcome.
very far from
Post-pandemic.
Sandy is our candidate today, Olivia, who lives just a few blocks away from a school we all know, Harvard Business School. Now, Olivia has a 740 GMAT, a 3.24 GPA from Babson College. She's working as a product manager at Morgan Stanley. She had worked in a similar role in product management at Wayfair. And her goal, frankly, is to become a senior product manager for a consumer tech or fintech company. She hopes the MBA will do that for her. And her target schools, Harvard, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and NYU Stern. So there you have it.
What we got here is a hi Olivia. We got a mixed bag here. We got gold, silver, copper, and some parts below that. Okay,
We're into metals today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What do you make of the 3.2 740, John?
Well, the 740 does offset the 3.2, and I think Olivia has a very articulate and thoughtful response to why her GPA is below the class averages for the schools that she's applying to. Why don't we hear?
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Olivia. What's with your 3.2, Olivia? Hey, lady, what's with your 3.2?
Sure. So when I got to college, I realized pretty quickly that I didn't have the right skills necessary to take on college level work and to study in an effective manner. And it took me a couple of semesters to figure out exactly how to do that well. I really had to work on developing those study skills. And that's something that...
Yeah, okay, stop. John, what do you think?
Well, I think you need to get to the fact that through your 4 years, your GPA began rising. In the last year, you got on the dean's list.
Yes. In my third and fourth years, my GPA went up, and the last 3 semesters I was on the dean's list. And then I took those skills to take the GMAT and to take HBS core.
I just want an explanation of the 3.2, and particularly why you messed up the first 2 years, and particularly given the fact your parents went to college, so you can't say, I was, I didn't know the environment. What's a good answer for that, John?
Boy. Well, why not her answer? Why not? She didn't have.
Her answer sounds scripted, and it is scripted.
So what do you suggest? Wasn't ready for college?
There's no good answer. I regret it. I don't know whether I wasn't ready, or I wasn't serious, or I was immature, or I was spending too much time, playing video games. But it just took me a couple of years to catch on. How's that for an answer?
Whatever the answer is, it should be short, and you should get immediately to the third and fourth years and what you accomplished then.
For sure.
But it should be honest too.
Yeah.
The honest answer is I don't know what happened. Either I wasn't ready or I wasn't paying. I'm assuming there wasn't some other looming event, like a family tragedy you were dealing with, or.
No, I just didn't have great skills, especially when it came to studying for exams. And that was something that I had to learn and work on. And I did after my first 2 years.
Right. These great skills for studying for exams. I don't know. That just sounds like sounds like jargon. Okay.
It's more about discipline, right? Than anything else.
Yeah, it was an attitude. I mean, did you start and you're saying, when you arrived the first day, did you say, boy, I'm really planning on buckling down and doing well, and I want to do well. And then you discovered, whoa, lo and behold, I didn't have skills to take exams. Okay, that didn't happen, right?
For me, a greater issue is I was very good at memorizing, and I wasn't as great at applying the concepts, and especially in the time-constrained environment of exams, I frequently just fell flat on my face, and it took me a little bit to figure that out.
Is that a better way to explain it, Sandy?
Maybe. I would just say I'm not sure what happened. I've got a pretty good memory, so I may have been over relying on that and wasn't familiar with the fact that a lot of the exams were qualitative. But I would just say it's there, man. It's love it or leave it. I ain't got an excuse. It got better. That would be my. I wouldn't say it that way, but that would be the vibe I would translate. I'm not happy about it. There's no real excuse. It took me a while to catch on, both in study skills, but more important in attitude. Long about my junior year, I got serious about school. I got interested in doing blah and blah. That's the attitude you have to show. Yeah, and then the 3.5. I don't know about the 3.5 and the concentration, boy. Do you think that helps, John? Saying that her GPA was 3.5 and her 3.5's not that good.
Well, but it's only off by a tiny fraction, right?
Yeah. All right. 740. Good for you. Okay, good. So that's the way I deal with the GPA. Do students from Babson often apply to MBA programs?
Yes, they frequently do.
And where do they often, wind up?
Some of them wind up at the M7, and some of them stick around Boston. It's a mixed bag.
Okay, good. Tell me about the Staples rotational program.
Sure. So I spent my first 2 years at Staples in their product management rotational program.
Is that a hard job to get? How'd you get that job?
Only 3 of us were accepted, so it's a bit competitive. Yep. And I worked on the e-commerce sites, both B2B and B2C, in a whole bunch of roles. I owned our subscription service for a while. I worked on cart and checkout. I launched our new homepages on both websites. I think one of my favorite things that I did was I worked on the content strategy for consumer generated content, which is like product reviews and leaving pictures.
Good. Yeah. So you should sell yourself as someone who has done a lot of marketing of all kinds on the internet for gold-plated companies.
Sure.
That is your strong suit, and that could get you very far. Don't you think, John?
Yeah, totally. Those are generic skills needed by a lot of different companies.
Oh, the companies, they're crying out for that, man. They say, get me someone who could put this on a website, will you? I'm an old fogey. Maybe I'm projecting. But that's what you've done at each job. Each job, you've been the kind of website marketer.
Yeah, sort of. I'm more on the product itself. So actually building our system for subscription services and building the new homepages and working on the cart and checkout side of things. It's less of marketing and it's more about prioritizing new features. But yes, I've been all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. So you can put a product and sell it and introduce it and have people buy it through a credit card on the internet. That's what a lot of people wish they could do, including me. Why did you go to Wayfair?
I went to Wayfair because they are one of the best e-commerce companies in the country, and they have an incredible reputation for producing great product managers. And I got there and it was absolutely true. I worked with great teams of people. I had access to data scientists.
Good, okay, and then great, good. Then what happened?
I worked on a few different products. I first focused on our acquisition channels and getting people enrolled in Wayfair Professional.
Yeah, now, what happened? How did you then go from there to Gratify at Morgan Stanley?
So in February of 2020, I was laid off along with about 500 people as part of a restructuring. And while I was laid
so
off,
you were laid off for how long?
3 months.
Yeah, so you have the layoff experience. You have the layoff experience, which we discussed in the pre-show. That's a very valuable. I view that as a very valuable part of your story. Okay.
Yeah.
that
You
you got laid off, that you know what it was like, that you know the emotional pain?
How hard
And
was that? How
what's
hard was
that?
it for you? I'm interested
Yeah,
in
okay.
knowing how hard it was to
Um,
happen at a young age.
It was pretty discouraging. I had poured a lot of my heart and soul into that product, and to be suddenly laid off, at first I absolutely blamed myself, and I tried to figure out how I could have prevented it. And I just dove in with applying to more product management roles. And then the pandemic started, and all of those roles kind of froze up because companies started having hiring freezes. And I started going on interviews where companies would say, "We want to interview you, but we can't offer you a role for a while." And it was really it was very depressing to be hiding from the virus during, April of 2020, one of the millions of people unemployed, just trying to find my way. But I will say that during that time, I went back to like my product roots, and I took a product class, and I watched some webinars, I read some books, and I really tried to figure out what I wanted for my next product role and make sure that time wasn't going to waste.
Yeah,
And
boy, you're a bon élève. That's for sure. You do all the right stuff. People are going to like that. And it's
something I should talk about in one of my essays or something, or save it for the interview?
I think I would lead with the day you were laid off. I don't know in your essay, but I don't know what Sandy says about that.
I would talk about being laid off as a part of your development,
Yeah.
along with your, look, there's a standard essay format. You don't have to do it in this order, but it should include this content. And let's go through it. My goals are, and then you have to explain your goals in a large but knowing way, okay? And so you've got to lay out your goals. And then you say several personal and professional experiences have contributed to these goals. And then you have to make very important intellectual choice about what 3 or 4 experiences or jobs or whatever you're going to talk about and what the takeaway was. And one of those things could be the period I spent between jobs was very important to me because it gave me a chance to reflect on what I really did want. When I was laid off at Wayfair, my thinking was this, but now it's changed a little into this. That's a good way of dealing with it. It's not the only way, but that's a good way of explaining the layoff. No one's going to blame you for being laid off.
Make it clear in the essay that you were one of 500 people.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yes.
should even put that on your resume.
It
Okay,
was
here's
also very public, like the Boston Globe covered it too. So it's easily verifiable.
Yeah, just don't assume admission officials read.
the Boston Globe. Okay, here's a question we often ask. What job do you want? Whose job do you want in 25 years?
Someone I really look up to in the product space is this guy, Evan Williams, who was the founder of Medium. He wanted to change the way that we consume news because he felt that clickbait was really destroying journalism and content sharing. And so he invented Medium, which prioritizes engagement over clicks and actually cultivates a writing base. And I write on Medium, and I've really enjoyed being both a writer and a reader.
Okay, John, Judge, give me a grade on that answer as an interview.
Well, I think always, Sandy likes short, snappy answers.
Sure.
So it's Evan Williams because he's been an innovator in the news space.
Sure, yes.
He was the founder of Medium, which does blank, and that's that.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
Sandy likes answers where the answer comes immediately.
Okay.
And this is hard. You go, a manager I really admire or someone whose job I want in 20 years is Evan Williams. He is the blank at blank. And what I like about him is that he's managed to overcome a lot of turbid waters. He's interdisciplinary. He's very good with technical people, and he's also good with non-technical people. And he's helped the company grow
Sure.
And he's also been a tremendous morale booster during some difficult times. So I'd like to be like a manager for all seasons like him.
Okay, sure.
What outline your career after Harvard Business School?
So I'd like to start by moving into a senior product manager role at a consumer tech or maybe a fintech company, specifically focused on moving into new markets or bringing new products to market. And over time, I could see myself growing into a more senior role, director role, VP level, just working on really interesting opportunities to.
Yeah, so how, can't you do that now?
So now a lot of what I do is more focused on micro problems. So the space that I'm looking at is paying off student loans and employer benefits. What I'd like to do is actually move into broader spaces and be able to look at entire markets and figure out what are the solutions needed for these great big markets and these great big problems.
Okay. Could you name a job that you want after business school?
Like at a company?
Yeah, yeah. A job I'd like after business school would be the at X corporation.
Yeah, I'd love to be a senior product manager at a company like Spotify or Toast, one of these mid-sized tech companies that are still growing and moving into new spaces and need strong product leaders to do that. I'd love one of those jobs.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You're pretty good at this. I think I don't think you're going to have an interview problem.
Okay, good.
I think you're going to have a overcoming the 3-2 problem.
So what do you think about the choice of schools? Harvard, MIT, NYU, Stern, and Carnegie Mellon Tepper.
That's a good waterfront in that, you've got a reach, and some of those other schools are safer. I might also look at places like Kellogg, Berkeley, Darden, and Duke. Those are your kind. Man, don't you think Olivia is a kind of applicant that thrives at
A Kellogg.
at Tuck,
Yeah.
and Kellogg?
Kellogg, yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I'd look into that. You're personable, you're ambitious without being predatory. You've got a record of accomplishment. You've got a 740 that answers a lot of questions everywhere. So I'd look into those places.
Now, what are Olivia's odds at Harvard Business School? Just lay it out there. Well, here's a question for you, Sandy.
Yes.
In last year's graduating class at Harvard, how many graduates attended Babson College?
A very small number. It could be like 0 to 5, unless I'm really off base here. Do you know, or?
Yes, it's 1.
Well, I'd say my answer is correct.
Right. At MIT, 15. At Northeastern, 6. At Wellesley, 8. Williams, 8. BC, 7. Tufts, 4. Babson, 1. So do you think they took the valedictorian from Babson?
That's an interesting question, John. Let me add, that was great research. Let me ask you a question that would be even more, that is also interesting. But let's say it's just, went through the normal system. Mm-hmm. I think it was someone with a 4.0 at Babson who then got a job at a classic feeder firm, and had probably a 730 or above GMAT. So what's the problem?
Yeah. Now the thing is, we don't want to discourage you from applying to Harvard because you never know. Things are very unpredictable, but I would think Sandy would agree that it doesn't look great.
I think your chances of being interviewed at Harvard are, well, let's start with the fact that anybody's chances of being interviewed are 10%. But I think the people with 740, their chances of being interviewed are more like
much higher.
Yeah, 20-30%.
And if you're a woman, even better.
Yeah, so your chances of being interviewed are 30%. And then, so I think your overall chances of getting into Harvard are like 15-20%.
Yeah.
it could happen. You got a lot going for you, man.
Yeah, you do. And here's the thing. I mean, as Sandy has said, I think if you get the interview, you're going to do well in it. They're going to be impressed because you're articulate, you're thoughtful, you're personable, you're very likable. So if you can get the interview, that's going to be the big issue.
Yeah, if you get the interview, it would be a big deal.
Yeah.
Likable people. So Harvard interview, as I've said many times, is like being born. Catastrophic things can go wrong in an instant. It's true.
What about your old employer, MIT?
That's an interesting question. I think they'd go in a big way for the 740. And they'd like the fact that you play against their type. So I think your chances of getting an MIT are like 30 to 40%.
I'll add one more ruffle. I applied to some graduate schools last spring when I was laid off. I was accepted to NYU in round 4. And I ended up turning it down because the pandemic was still really questionable. I got the job at Morgan Stanley. I wonder, am I likely to be readmitted, or will they hold that against me since I turned them down once?
You've got to let them know that you're in a tough spot. It would help if you let them know, hey, I'm applying again. And if you take me again, I'm coming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the question is,
will you?
Yeah. Oh.
I would go to NYU. Absolutely. They have a product management concentration, which I find really interesting.
Yeah. Would you go there if you also got into Wharton?
Am I going to get into Wharton though? I don't know if I have the grades for that.
You got a 740 GMAT, and Wharton is very interested in achieving gender parity. Both. They are very GMAT-y and very interested in.
Or would you go to Columbia? Yeah, boy, Kellogg is Berkeley. I don't know. Is that out of the question just because it's too far away?
No, I'll move.
Berkeley would be a great fit for you. Kellogg, Columbia, Darden, Duke. You'd get into Darden and Duke for sure. You'd probably get into Berkeley. And if you shaped yourself perfectly in the application, you're a Kellogg type.
Okay.
Some of these places will throw money at you, incidentally. Not Harvard, not MIT.
Sure.
That's true. Here's another way to get into Harvard. There's like a Miss America candidate, and you just capture the American non-privileged but highly accomplished candidate. I don't know if there's a door for that, but you're even, I don't know where you come from, but you're like a heartland applicant, working for Babson, Staples,
Wayfair.
Yeah, Wayfair. I don't know if there's a side door for someone who's just so mainstream.
Yeah, good.
You might get into that. So there's a chance for Harvard.
Do I play up my Western Pennsylvania roots?
Yes.
Yeah. If they talk about if they're part of your value creation story, right?
And apply to UVA Darden. They love HBS core people. Love it. They put a lot of emphasis on HBS core. They like it.
John knows all this stuff, man. I'm glad you're with us, John.
There you go. Well, listen, good luck to you. We're rooting for you. Olivia, you're going to get into a bunch of schools. Apply to a few more that we mentioned. And no matter where you go, you're going to be able to achieve your dream of being a senior product manager in a consumer tech or fintech.
Yeah, that's for sure. You could also, if you got in, you could be the Babson ambassador to Harvard Business School.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And
it's been a pleasure. And this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching Fridays with Sandy.